Hello and welcome to Talkin' Baseball. Blue Jays fans, you want to talk about it? Red Sox fans, you want to talk about it? Yankees stink. NL wildcard's hot. Let's talk ball.
Two-strike to poach you right there. No, single.
Oh boy. September 15th. Remember the 15th of September. Brought to you by SeatGeek. Make sure you download the app. Use code Talkin. Go see some kids. I saw Richie Palacios for St. Louis had a couple big games. Go see him. We like him. Trev, hand up early.
I'm going to Incubus October 6th at the Hollywood Bowl. It's going to be an excellent show. I went on SeatGeek.
Yeah.
And I got the best deal on this box. The bubble is the biggest green bubble I've ever seen in my life. You know what that means, right?
Green means good.
You better tickets. We're going for double of what I got them for.
Wow.
That's a true story.
God. You and Olivia listening to Drive. Link in the description. Code Talkin, $20 off your first purchase. Is the whole neighborhood going? Did I miss that text? Was that a group thread maybe I'm catching up on?
We got a 6 box.
Okay.
That's what they do at the bowls. They have these like little boxes,
Sure.
essentially.
Sex
yeah,
box.
I mean, it is a neighborhood thing. There's probably going to be another 6 box next to us, and we're just going to go have fun, man. They're a Valley band, so it's like, we support our own.
We do support that. What else you supporting, big dog? We've got a couple big things happened this week. We'll talk some Chaim and the Sox. That Rangers-Blue Jays series, I mean, that changes the whole scope of the American League. Dramatic. Braves and Phillies do the dance. Orioles are calling up more kids. How are you spiritually, Trev?
I am so excited for the last 2 weeks of the season because I'm like hate loving. We're going to talk about them during the show, but there's no 163s anymore. So we're going from head to head to interdivision record. And those things are going to decide who's going to get into the playoffs, which to me is nuts. Yeah. Why would you get rid of 163? Why would you do that? I don't understand.
We got these
We'll talk about it.
We got these 3-game wild cards now, Trev.
Yeah, but you can play an entire season, have the exact same record as another team, and because maybe I get the season series thing, but how are we playing teams 6 times? How do we not have an odd number on these games to actually decide it? Because interdivision record's silly to me. It's silly to me.
Interdivision record is pretty wild. Let's talk ball. I mean, if we're already talking interdivision record, it's a hot show. I'm going to burn through the games. We're skipping series hard now, people. Cardinals fans, your 2-game win, and Richie Palacios, that's probably it. But God, good-looking guy, a little bit of pop from the little fella. We're going to talk about what matters because it's that time of year. Trev, biggest update for you? Last night, today, crisp. The air is crisp in the beautiful Northeast. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Today was the first day I was like, I am dressed inappropriately. I was wearing shorts and a T-shirt from the John Boy Media store. And I was dressed inappropriately. I got sad for my Yankees one more time. I probably got 3 or 4 more of those moments coming up because I won't be watching ball. But I'm happy.
Of them.
I'm happy that your team is. Yeah, I'll be watching a lot of postseason.
A lot of live streams coming.
Holy smokes.
For the other teams.
Let's burn it. And then maybe I'll tell some of the people about HelloFreshka. Trev, it's Friday, so we start with the National League. And the Atlanta Braves are the kings of the East yet again, and they do it in Philadelphia. They take 3 out of 4. from the Fightins. All 4 of these games, Trev, had a little bit of playoff baseball juice to them. Ronald Acuna Jr. is letting the good people of Philadelphia know he doesn't care. He does not care. If you want it, come and get it. Ooh, nah, 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 nah. I mean, Kevin Pillar has a big game in the first game. Didn't even know he was still hanging out there. But if there's a lefty on the bump, he comes in and does his thing. Phillies won that second game 7-5, but games 1, games 3, won in extra innings. A lot of offense on the board, and then that final day, there's that big-footed, big-thigh kind of freak show. Spencer Strider, 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 9 Ks. We're celebrating on the field. Man, if these two teams lock horns in October, it's going to be some good baseball to watch. Oh, Matt Olson, 51 homers. Great. Great. Congrats to the Atlanta Braves. Congrats to the New York Metropolitans. Snakes, what is you doing, baby? They won the first game, so you know Tommy Pham got in the action and provided another game-tying home run, and Ketel Marte with the go-ahead double in the 9th. But then the New York Mets, hello, Ronnie Mauricio, hits his first Major League home run. Pete Alonso, his 44th of the season. And Joey Lucchesi's throwing the pill into the 8th inning. And Kodai Senga, there's rumors you could hear about him later in this show. Snakes, what is we doing? 3 out of 4 from the Miami Marlins. 12-0. It's a blowout in the first day. Adames Taylor and Canna behind a Brandon Woodruff complete game shutout. Brooker hadn't seen one. Oh, speaking of. Brewers, they win on the next day. Your guy Shags opens it up. Josh Donaldson and the Milwaukee Blue and Gold has a nice day. Home run. Fish shut him out in game 3, but then Taylor and Terang help get it done as Milwaukee takes 3 out of 4. They're creating some space in the Central. Fish, Snakes, what are we doing at the end of this wild card? The series everyone wants to hear about. Nationals, Pirates, Auntie Rhea and Uncle Rick. Pirates take 3 out of 4. They drop the first game. Patrick Corbin, nice start. Happy for you. Pirates take the final 3 games. Mitch Keller continues his beauty of a season. Josh Palacios, he homers in this series. I love it. The Palacios brothers, we are fans. Jack Sawinski. By the way, CJ Abrams in that first game. 2 Jimmy Jacks. We love him on this program. Padres take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers. There was a lot of these this week. There was a lot of why? Padres win the bread games. One of the reasons why, Blake Snell on the final game of the series. 6 innings, 1 hit. Snellagram. Soto, I think he hit his 30th of the year. His numbers are in Looney Tune land per usual. Dodgers don't really care. They pitched Stone, Lynn in the game they won, and Pepio in this series. Yay, Padres. Rockies take 2 out of 3 from the Cubs. This is what I'm telling you, people. Cubs won the first game. Jordan Wicks is doing it again. Yan Gomes jumps ahead. Pete Crow Armstrong making a catch in center field that gives me butterflies. But your Colorado Rockies come back and do it. McMahon, Chris Bryant, Brenton Doyle. Rocks take 2 out of 3, and that's what happened in the National League.
Great job, Poppy.
Standings guy.
That's me, man. I'm doing the standings from here on out. In the National League, congrats to the Atlanta Braves. They clinched the division in Philadelphia. They go the next day. Not only do they clinch in Philadelphia in front of the Phillies and the hometown Phillies crowd, the next day, Jakey boy, they have an off day in Miami. My goodness, do you know what that means? That means we are celebrating. I don't even know where the cool spots are in Miami anymore, but I bet those Atlanta Braves do.
For those of us that maybe are unsure, what do you think that means?
That means they were clubbing.
Oh.
South Beach?
Mm.
Oh, my gosh. The thing, they stay open until 5 in the morning in Miami.
Me,
Power Pizza.
John Jay.
Protein powder in the dough. You got to go.
Mm.
They're 96-50. Phillies, only 17 games back in that division. 79-67. The Marlins are 75-72. Mets 68-70. Half-game lead. They were just...
Yeah.
Oh, man, it was close in this thing, and they're running away with it. 4.5 game lead now. Their magic number for the division is 12. They're 82-64. 4.5 game lead over the Cubs, who are 78-69. The Reds are 76-72. Pittsburgh 69, nice, and 78. St. Louis 65-81. The Dodgers, their elimination number is 4 because they're 88-57, 13.5 above both the Giants and the Snakes. The Giants sitting at 75-71, Snakes 76-72. Padres eliminated from the West, 69, nice, and 78, and the Rockies, who sent out Cole Tucker again without giving him a plate appearance. What are we doing?
They're out.
Out on you guys, 53-92, 35 games back. Only the Oakland A's are further back in their division at 36.5 games back. Am I doing the wild card?
Why don't you
National
update?
League?
Yeah.
In the National League, Philly holding on to the first wild card. They are above the Cubs, who have the second wild card, who are 2.5 games above San Francisco, Arizona, Cincinnati, who are all tied for the third wild card. But we're going to go into that a little more later in the show because the tiebreakers are nuts, as I alluded to in the open. And oh yeah, the Marlins are still there, a half game back of the third wild card spot. It's going to be a doozy, Jake.
Padres, this might be the last thing you hear from me about your team this episode. They're 6.5 out of the wild card. It is just bonkers that they couldn't piece together 2 or 3 games here or there because they should be the last wild card team on paper, but they just aren't. They just aren't.
We reposted on our Talking Baseball social media pages if the 1-run games were flipped, what the records would be, and the Padres would have like the 3rd or 4th best record in the National League. And instead, here we are. They're nowhere close to the playoffs. That's crazy to me. That talent and those veterans and what they can do. And what is that? Is that strategic? Is it just lackadaisical play? Is it what the heck, man?
Reminds me of team baggage. Reminds me of team baggage a little bit. You're doing everything right. Speaking of doing things right, why don't you go to HelloFresh? Kickstart a fresh fall routine. I told you it's crisp. And HelloFresh, they handle the planning, the shopping, the delivering, and yet you get to cook it up. You know, this isn't one of those throw it in the microwave and you're not sure what you're eating. This is the next level. Like, you're getting real fresh ingredients. You cook them at your home and you have a fresh meal. Easy recipes, 15 minutes. Maybe cook something up with a loved one. Or if you're on the hunt, cook something up for a future loved one. Or just cook it up for yourself, because HelloFresh is really good. I had a little chicken mashed potato. I think there's some mushrooms in there. You can go to HelloFresh.com/50Talkin. Whoo! Use code 50Talkin for 50% off plus 15% off the next 2 months. That's like 85% off in a weird way. HelloFresh.com/50Talkin. Start using America's #1 meal kit today. Click the link in the description. Trevor, in the National League, I think there's more headlines in the AL between Blue Jays, Chaim, Rangers, the West. But in the National League, the Braves, we could give some golf claps, or if you want to talk about this series a little bit, because these are, you know, two of the biggest threats in the National League linking up, and we've got, you know, a little bit of bad blood. You know, the Rob Rob Topper not loving what's going on the field from the Phillies manager. And you know what the Braves said? We don't give a fuck. Zero.
That whole situation, I'm so off of both sides.
Yeah.
I just can't stand it because Topper, he didn't mean what he said. Or excuse me, he does mean what he said. Okay? But he shouldn't have said it. Now, there is a contingency of ball players and especially a large contingency of coaches and managers who feel that way. Act like you've been there before. Respect your opponent. They see these things, guys going around the bases celebrating as disrespectful to your opponent. That's what they see it as. It ain't going to change because that's what people were taught for so long. For so long. I mean, the only time, and this is coming from, my last year was in the big leagues was 2018. So look, man, 5 years ago. That's not that long ago. Even then, it was starting to get a little bit more like, hey, let's celebrate. But even then, it was like, if you had a walk-off, you could do whatever you wanted. But that was basically it.
Right.
You're sometimes the raw emotion would come out and, they'd be like, okay, just kind of, bring it in a little bit. Now it's not that way anymore. The game has changed. We are understanding more and more how much of an entertainment business this is. And we are more and more going towards, and I mean this with all respect, we're going more and more towards a Latin influence game. And that's how they play the game. It's intense. It's passionate. They like to celebrate. It's part of their culture. Check out some Winter League games if you don't believe me. Watch baseball, and it's made our game better. So I'm over the old school guys. You can think it all you want. Don't bring it out because now you're going to now the next day he has to sit in front of reporters and retract his statement. Then he's got people saying, well, what about look at the guys you have on your team? They don't act like they've been there before. They've definitely been there before, but you have tons of guys showing emotion on that Phillies team. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So I'm over all that. Then for the Braves, we love us some Tyler Matzik. We do. He comes out with a great quote. I don't know if that's his quote. I don't think it's his quote. I think that's probably stolen from somewhere. We even have a shirt already in our store with the quote. If you don't like it, stop it. If you can't stop it, admire it. If you can't admire it, shut up so we can, or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a great quote. It's true. But I believe Tyler Matzik is one of those old school guys that about 2 years ago was probably mad at people for pimping home runs. And actually, I'm sorry, I'm not saying that word anymore. Showboating. I'm calling him Boatin. P-I-M-P out. Boatin's in. I'm sure not too long ago, Tyler Matzik was mad at people for boating homers. Now, maybe his thought process has changed. I hope so. Mine has, for sure. But I just, that whole story just rubbed me the wrong way on both sides.
Yeah, and hey, speaking of, if you're somehow flying blind on this, and I think if you're listening to Talking Baseball, you're probably not, but Tigres del Licey and Aguilas Cibeñas, not sure
nice.
If I said
you crushed
that.
It. You just
yeah?
crushed it. Yeah.
Felt real natural. They're playing at Citi Field November 10th through the 12th, so that's going to be an interesting scene. Is it going to be freezing?
That's an interesting take there because my Latin brothers, they don't like the cold.
They don't like the cold, Poppy.
They don't like the cold. They don't like it. I mean, there might be the outlier here and there. Yeah, nobody really likes it.
I, too, didn't love playing a lot of baseball in November in the Northeast. That's, don't get jammed, man. I mean, Joe's has to go to that, and we'll probably end up there, too. What else, I guess, in this actual series? I mean, 2 of these games went to extra innings. You got Fried, 5 innings, 1 earned as he's trying to be built right for the playoffs. I mentioned Pilar because it jumped out to me. He hadn't played since August 30th. He had 2 hits against the Rockies on August 30th. Hadn't played since then. A little over 2 weeks, or right about 2 weeks on the nose. Comes back in and basically has one of the game-winning hits. And I don't know. That's just one of those things to me. Like, yeah, Olsen and Acuna are fighting for MVP. Sean Murphy's one of the best catchers in the game. You could go around the lineup, but winning teams always have guys like Kevin Pillar's had an amazing MLB career, and right now he's just your platoon against lefty / go get it wherever he is in the outfield because that's all he knows. That stuff matters to winning teams.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, what a great depth piece he is. And I saw him speak after they clinched. He said, man, I wanted to go somewhere where I knew I had a chance to win. He goes, I've accomplished a lot in my career. I haven't had a World Series yet. This is where I can go, and I felt like I had the best chance, and he's dang right. The thing about this series, I know the Braves took 3 out of 4. They should have swept this. That you throw a doubleheader in there, it's hard to get 2 games in one day. If all these games were on separate days, and this sounds stupid, this is Trevelytics. The Braves sweep all 4 games. And I'm not saying like all these games were close, but the way they're playing right now, they're hard to beat. I will say this though, they have crushed the Phillies this year. I believe they're 7-3 against them now, so that means something, or does it? Because last year,
right,
they went 8, or the Phillies went 8-11 against them, I believe. So they had a losing record against them last year during the regular season. We all know what happened in the postseason.
It means yeah.
What does it really mean? Because I promise you this: if you're a Braves fan, and I said, "Do you guys how excited are you to play Philly in the postseason?" They'd be like, "We're not excited." They know that those games are going to be tough. This whole series was basically that way.
Yeah.
I mean, to Philly's credit, some of these games, they had to really fight back against the bullpen of the Braves, which, you could think of one of 2 ways. Hey, man, the Braves had it all along. Or you could say, hey, that's scary for the Braves because now the Phillies know it doesn't matter what the score is for 6 innings of the game. We got to the bullpen. That's in our head. We know we can get to this bullpen. So keep it close and we can do our dang thing. This, I want to see this matchup. I think, would you rather see Braves Dodgers or Braves Phillies? Really? What's the more fun matchup for you right now?
The more fun is Braves Phillies.
I
there's
think so too.
Some divisional stuff there, and I think the overall, sometimes West versus East plays, but I think Braves Phillies, all that red, doing it again, the Phillies genuinely don't care. Okay, Braves, knock yourselves out. Go win 120 games. We'll see you in the playoffs. So, yeah, there's a pretty good argument there. That being said, I'd Braves tee it up, too.
Can you imagine the amount of Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson, montages we're going to have?
We're probably going to get that even if they don't play.
Acuna, Harper. Okay, there's a lot of...
Yeah.
It's going to be good. The NL is going to be great in the postseason. I really believe that.
I think you're right. Kyle Wright. First start since May 3rd. Circle that for Atlanta. As maybe their question mark is rotation, but also maybe not. I think the other thing I want to say for this series, and I'm definitely not blanking right now, is that I'm definitely blanking. So that's what I've got. Perfect.
Everything else, in the National League, going over it, I mean, D-backs, that's a mini what is you doing baby right now, losing 3 or 4 to the Mets when you're in this position. I think the Marlins are such an interesting talk here. The Brew Crew kind of finding their stride, doing what they need to do. There was a lot of Josh Donaldson talk before the show. Yeah. You and I kind of disagreed on what he brings to Milwaukee. Do you want to get into that?
I do. I remembered what I was going to say. If you're a Braves fan who, they've been waiting for us to talk about them more. He just said, regular season matters until it doesn't. If they play the Phillies and Harper goes up top and it's 2-0 Phils, it's okay, we don't care about the record. Braves went out west and gave the Dodgers the business. Now they go to Philly. They give Philly the business.
It's very true.
It's, I think they're making it near impossible to not pick them to win the World Series.
Is this the best team you've seen since I don't know. Let's see. In the last 10 years. In the last 10 years. It's 2013 on.
That's so tough because, like,
it is tough. I can't even think about the teams.
You do have to finish the job. Like, that's all that matters. Like, I'm.
Do you? Okay, that's
yeah, man.
that
I'm not a big like best team to ever not win. Like it's the goal. It's the goal. That's where I think that Golden State team that had the best record ever, and it's Golden State, but they lost that year. They didn't win it. The goal is the discussion. I think we'll hear all-time great. I think we'll hear best team ever. I think we'll hear that stuff. But you can also get punched by the Phillies in 4 or the Dodgers, So that's where baseball...
Go back to the old days where it's just 2 teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Now we really know who's the best.
Every game's a playoff game that way.
Ugh.
You mentioned the Brew Crew. Snaps for them because... the wild card, the NL wild card is an absolute disaster. They have separated themselves from that.
Yes.
Yeah, I am a little bit of a jealous, scorned ex here, but
yes, you are.
I didn't like that they added Donaldson. Josh Donaldson brings a lot with him, including like an MVP trophy that you would point out. He can still pick it at third base. I will give him that. You're adding a big personality. Josh Donaldson's going to be Josh Donaldson till the end of time, and he deserves that. He should be. But man, I think his approach at the plate is in a tough place right now. And I think with all the kids, the freshmen, and now there's like another group of kids on the freshmen. I don't know. I guess if you're the Brewers and you're already on your way to kind of marching to the NL Central, the risk reward of where Josh Donaldson's at, in my head, doesn't seem worth it. But if he can play the hot corner and he runs into a couple at the right time, it's the perfect Brewers move. If he doesn't, I think you could have the kids looking around like, what? Why is this guy just alphaing us all the time?
That's exactly what I think this team needs, though.
Okay.
I really do. Name a strong personality like Josh Donaldson that was already on the Brewers. I don't think you really can. Like, maybe you talk about Willie Adames. He's got, that in him, but he's not. I don't think he's, like maybe calling people out when they need to be called out or, firing people up the way they need to be fired up. I know Yelly's not doing that. Yelly will sit down and talk to you if you need it, but he ain't gonna yell. He ain't gonna fire people up. That's just not his personality.
Sure.
I think this is something they needed. Fire. Oh yeah, he's one dot in it with the Brewers right now. Now I get it. 17 plate appearances, 13 at bats. I get it. You can't tell me. Now I get it. When he was with the Blue Jays, when he's with the A's, he's a different player than he is right now.
Sure.
Because you can get away with a lot of things when you're performing at that level. I always say performance trumps all. Get away with a lot of things. With the Yankees, didn't perform so well.
Nope.
With the Twins, actually he had a couple decent years with the Twins. And a lot of people, there's mixed emotions in Minnesota about him there. But I will say this. He brings the energy and fire that I think the Brew Crew was missing. And like you alluded to before the show, didn't cost him anything. Very Brewers move.
Trev,
plays a position they needed help at.
The only counter to the counter I'll give you is that I gave that almost exact same speech about Josh Donaldson joining the Yankees.
Totally different scenario. That's totally different. Yankees and Brewers are like, that is, you're talking about places where you got to play. Those are two different spectrums of the world, bro.
I'm not talking atmosphere. I'm talking within the team. Like I gave speeches about how Josh Donaldson could be the bad guy for the Yankees and almost take the steam off of other players because he can distract you with some of his stuff. I don't know. I will root for ball players always. I hope Josh Donaldson goes nuts in Milwaukee. I hope he takes down one of those 3 teams we just talked about in the playoffs and he becomes a folklore hero in Milwaukee. But I don't know. Front office Jake probably doesn't pull the trigger on that move, but that's why I'm here in this seat with you.
Okay. Let's there was the Marlins losing 3 out of 4 to the Mets. Not great for them. The Dodgers, they lose 2 out of 3 to the Padres. Doesn't really matter.
No.
Cubs losing 2 out of 3 to the Rockies. Now that matters. So we don't necessarily need to dive into these series, but I do want to talk about some of the tiebreaker scenarios because they are going to come into play, and it is absolutely nuts.
Yeah, I mean, do you just want to let it eat a little bit? Because I know you're lost in the sauce here.
I have it up right now, so we can do that. Let me get the standings up again. Excuse me.
Excuse him.
So right now, again, the White Sox are in the second wild card. Excuse me, the Cubs, not the White Sox. Chicago Cubs, second wild card spot. Behind them, Giants, Arizona, Cincinnati, all tied for the third wild card spot. Miami, half game out of those 3 teams. This is you have to kind of bear with me because there's so much here.
There's a lot of moving parts.
Now the Marlins, I think, are an interesting case here because they're the last team out right now, or they're the furthest down. They have the tiebreaker on the Phillies. That's not really going to come into play, I don't think. Now they have it on the Cubs. They're 3 games back of the Cubs, which means they're actually only 2 games back of the Cubs.
Right.
Because there ain't no game 163. If they tie the Cubs, they get to be ahead of them. Now the Reds, they went 3-3 against. So there is no head-to-head record. So now we have to go interdivision. Right now, the Marlins are 21-22 interdivision, and they would hold the tiebreaker over the Reds by 3.5 games because they're 19-27 interdivision. So now, technically, they're not a half game back of the Reds. They're a half game up on the Reds because of the tiebreaker. Nuts. They have the tiebreaker against the Diamondbacks because they went 4-2 against them. The only team they don't hold the tiebreaker against is the Giants. They went 3-3, so now it's interdivision again, but San Francisco has a 22-14 record. So the Marlins are actually sitting pretty when you're talking about, these last teams. They have to finish a game over the Giants, but every other team, if they tied, I'm talking about the Cubs, Arizona, or Cincinnati, if they tied, they are in. And everyone else is out. It's an extra full game in the standings, people. It's nuts.
Can I ask you?
I don't know if you like that or not, but I don't.
No, it doesn't feel right. But with the current playoff format, I don't think you can bring 163 back. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I mean, maybe can we adjust head to head that these teams play 7 games against each other?
That's what I think it has to. We can't have the even number games. Head to head, that counts. I am okay with that. If you're going to have a tiebreaker, head to head's the way to do it.
Even play 7 one year and 5 the next to balance it out or something like that. But
here's my tiebreaker rankings. 163. Bam. Number 1. Number 2, head to head record. The rest of the stuff is bullshit.
When you put your fist up, I kind of flinched over here. Flashbacks.
Shut up.
Can I ask you a couple NL questions before I think we move? Are all the divisions set? 2 are obvious. The only one that would be a question mark would be the Brewers, who are 4.5 up on the Cubbies now.
I think all the divisions are set. Yes, that's a lot of games to make up when we only have, I'm doing math in my head now, 146. We got 16 games left.
They do finish with the Brewers, so Cubs, if you can get it to within 3, anything can happen. But I think the divisions are done.
I think the divisions are done. I think the Phillies are going to have that first wild card, or they'll have one of the first 2 wild cards, and then after that, I mean, Cubs look like they're sitting pretty, but you
can't say they're locked. You can't say they're locked. They're about to play the Snakes, so big weekend for the D-backs.
There's a lot of good baseball coming up.
But the Cubs are a good series and a half away from being locked. But that being said, they kind of flunked the dunk with the Rocks, although playing in Colorado is different than playing the Rockies on the road. Rocky road, you might say. Who, let's say Cubs are in. They 2.5 in. We like what the Cubs have been doing. If you had to pick one of San Francisco, Arizona, Cincinnati, or Miami, who would you take?
It's so difficult, man.
It's brutal.
I think, well, now let me see. From what I just read, I think I would take the Marlins because of the tiebreaker that they hold. I think that's big. Now, the only one they don't hold against is the Giants. So that would mean like maybe I should be picking the Giants. Now I want to see where they're at as far as holding tiebreakers, because that's important.
Without getting into schedule and stuff, I think baseball instinct would make people jump to the Giants. This is a franchise that's had a little more recent success than these other teams. I think they have a little bit more of a veteran presence. That, just using baseball generalisms, I think a lot of things would point San Francisco.
I agree. Now that I look at the tiebreakers, I think I will stick with San Francisco. They have the tiebreaker over the Marlins, and Marlins have it over everybody else. So, but they have 2 games remaining against the D-backs. And if they win one of those 2, they have the tiebreaker. Because right now they're 6-5 against. So if they win one of those 2 again, they have the tiebreaker against them. They have the tiebreaker against the Marlins. They have the tiebreaker against the Phillies. They don't have the tiebreaker against the Cubs, but we're not even counting them because they're ahead of them. The Reds, they have the tiebreaker, and the Brewers, they have the tiebreaker on. So I think it's the Giants, and then it's the Marlins, and then between Reds and D-backs, I'm probably going. Well, let's see.
Hey, just one final.
I'm going Reds. D-backs are out for me. They don't hold a tiebreaker against anybody.
Right, but I mean, they're about to play the Cubs. They're about to play the Giants. Like they can still control a lot of their fate before we get to tiebreakers. All these teams can.
If the Cubs, they have 3 against the Cubs. If the Cubs win one of those, they lock up the tiebreaker.
It's gonna be a weird, wild finish in the NL.
And you know what, for people, because I know I've been all over the place, it's hard to follow if you're just listening or watching the show. I'll send you the link for what I'm looking at. MLB has it on their page, and they update it daily, so you can kind of just go there and see where you're at. I think it's fascinating, man. It's fascinating to me.
What fascinates me is the American League. Let's do it. And the series that everybody in baseball is talking about. Rangers, Blue Jays, the scuffling Rangers trying to piece it together against Toronto, who's made a nice run at it. And oh my God. Rangers, 4-game sweep the Bluebirds. And Toronto, don't say that second T, Trev. They open it up in the first game. Your guy Jonah Heim with his 3rd career grand slam. And Mr. Carter, I am him. Evan Carter, his first major league home run in that game. Moving around in the outfield for Texas, filling in a big way. Man, I talked about it last time. That little dose of Oakland A's medicine went a long way for Texas. Scherzer gives that injury. He's probably out for the year. We don't know. Corey Seager is all over this series. And you're going to hear more about him later if we're being completely honest. Monty and some relievers for Texas combined for a 5-hitter. Nathaniel Lowe, till my land and date my daughter. Mitch Garver has been hitting lately. And then on the final game, Seager and Heim open it up. A 4-game sweep. These 2 teams that were competing in the wild card. And Texas has flipped the script on their whole season and Toronto's in one fell swoop. Whoa. We're going to talk about that one. This one, we'll talk about it for a different reason. Because Yankees-Red Sox, the rivalry. Does it get any better? It gets so much fucking better than this. 2 doubleheaders because of rainouts. Yankees win the first 2 games of the dip. Rodon with arguably his best start as a Yankee. Gleyber Torres with a couple good games. So good that Chaim Bloom gets fired. Chaim's time is up. They come back, rain out another doubleheader. Sox shut him out. Rafaela with his first major league home run. That's fun. And then the Judge hits a grand slam. Yanks win the final game. They take 3 out of 4. But yeah, I mean, this is 2 bottom feeders playing ball. Now, 2 elite teams linked up. Rays Twins. Rays took 2 out of 3. They take the bread games in the sandwich. A little glass now. Taj Bradley. Wow. Feel like I had a dream like that once. The unsung heroes of that team, Trev, Eddie Julian and Willie Castro. Willie Castro, I know you try to toot his horn whenever you can. How about Curtis Mead, the prospect, getting some run for the Rays in the last game? Yandy Diaz, 4 for 6 in the first game, hits his 20th home run. His stats are unreal. Unreal. And then, oh yeah, Randy Arozarena hits the game-winning homer in the final game. It's also the longest homer of his career, and I think like 11 of his home runs have given Tampa a lead this year, so that guy's still the best to ever do it. Hey now, Seattle, they take 2 out of 3 from the Halos. Halos win another extra inning game. Your guy Reed Detmers got rolling. And how about Randall Grichuk? Another game-winning RBI. Nobody wants me? Fuck you. A lot of cursing from me today. Big weekend. Mariners come back, and they win the next 2 games down. Even though his fastball was down, he was still getting a lot of swings and misses. Julio Rodriguez, the 44th player to join the 30-30 club. Luis Castillo, another good start. And you know J.P. Crawford has his mitts all over this series. Trev, this is another one. Oakland Athletics, 2 out of 3 from Houston. Good job for some of the Athletics kids. Shea Langeliers has been hitting homers. So is your guy, Zach Geloff. Houston wins the last game. And then the Royals and White Sox played baseball. My God. Michael Garcia, Michael Massey, Logan Porter. Who are these guys? Tim Anderson, 2 hits. That's what happened in that series. Trev, give me the American League standings.
Nice job, Poppy. I was just doing some research on if Japanese pitchers are more durable than American pitchers. Okay. Kinesiology. Didn't take that in school. In the AL East, Baltimore nursing a 1-game lead on the Tampa Bay Rays, who they're playing this weekend. They lost the first one of that set. We're not going to talk about it till Monday. 91-55 are the Orioles. 91-57 are the Tampa Bay Rays. Behind them, Toronto, 80-67. Then those disgusting teams at the bottom, 74-73, 74-73 for the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. In the Central, my Twins in first place by 8 games. They are going to clinch very soon. The magic number is 8. They're 77-70. Cleveland, 69-78. Detroit, 67-79. White Sox, Royals. In the West, Houston Astros. Boy, oh boy, are you sweating down there in Houston? A half game up on the Rangers. They're 83-64. Rangers, 82-64. The Mariners, 81-65. Only a game and a half back of the division. And man, I got to, before we go on with these, the winner of that division is going to have a bye. Unless the Twins do something crazy.
No.
So, my goodness, that's a race there. We'll get into some more of those tiebreakers. Angels, Oakland, gross. In the wild card, Tampa Bay Rays going to be the second wild card or first place in the AL East. Either one of those, they're in the playoffs. Second wild card goes to the Texas Rangers. Third goes to Seattle right now. Toronto is a 1.5 games back of them. Everybody else out of the dance. It's heating up, Jakey boy. It's heating up.
It's heating up, and the stakes, they're high. I don't know if you got that one on there, BBD.
The stakes?
The stakes, they're high.
I enjoy them.
It's an awesome game.
I'd be friends with you, Garrett Cole. I really would. All these people talk crap at you.
I would be too. Garrett's awesome.
Everyone but Ben Rortvet would be great friends.
Yeah, that's a whole. We'll tune you into that later, Trev. We got to tune into Texas and Toronto because this is the biggest story. The Texas Rangers, who had been limping, injuries, Adolis, Josh Young, they were losing a lot of ball games. They go to Oakland. They lost the first game. They snaked out the second, and then they won the third. So, okay, 2-game win streak. Head into Toronto for a big series. The Texas Rangers have now won 6 games in a row. Evan Carter is filling in swimmingly. And they are back. The West is wide open. The wild card, Trev, I think part of the reason you've got hooked in these tiebreakers, Toronto, who is now on a 4-game losing streak, they're a game and a half back of Seattle right now, but I believe everyone has the tiebreaker over them. So that's where that stuff is important because that basically means Toronto is 2.5 games back.
Yes. The only tiebreaker the Blue Jays have is with the Astros, which could come into play.
Sure.
Other than that, the Rays, who I don't think it's going to matter for them. There's still 6 games remaining against them, which is scary if you're a Blue Jays fan. The only one that really comes into play. So yeah, the Mariners hold the tiebreaker over them. The Rangers hold the tiebreaker over them, but they have it over the Astros. So that would maybe come into play. This series, I do another show on our network called Baseball Today, and my co-host there is Chris Rose, and man, he loves to follow the trends. He's reactionary. Rangers have a tough month in their bullpen. We know it's been their weakness all year long. They tried to address it at the trade deadline. They bring in a couple guys. They were really early on and aggressive with Chapman. They bring in Stratton. They go out and get Jordan Montgomery and Max Scherzer. Like, they've been aggressive this entire time. Chris Rose was basically trying to put them to sleep.
Yeah.
They don't have the bullpen for it. I said, you know what they have? An offense that can carry a team if they get hot, where the bullpen doesn't matter. Now, sure, do you want your bullpen to be able to hold leads? Yes. But when you win 10-4, 10-0, 9-2, I mean, they were averaging in a 4-game set, dude, 35 runs. You're averaging 9 games a run. 9 runs a game. That's not even the right math.
Yeah.
It's close, though.
It's right around it.
8 point something. That's how you win games, with a faulty bullpen. Like, not every team is going to be perfect, dude. Like, if you're a fan of your team, you understand there's flaws everywhere on every single team. Maybe not the Braves, although their bullpen got hit around. Phillies hit their bullpen around. The Rangers are dangerous because they could jump you at any given time. At any given time. And I still like their starting pitching. And I still think they have guys in the bullpen that can get the job done. Like, this is a very dangerous team. We can't let, even if it's a calendar month, you can't let one calendar month get in your head. Like, it's a long baseball season. You're going to have peaks and valleys. This Texas Rangers team is as dangerous as anybody, and I don't want to hear it, dude. I don't want to hear it. And they showed it right now. You go into Toronto, and we talk about 4-game sets and how impossible it is to sweep. And they swept. In a crucial series, they went in there and laid the bats down and said, we got it. Backyard Brad, 10 years service time. Congratulations. You just got put on the 60-day IL. Doesn't matter. 10 years is nice.
Take it.
And that's a Jake quote right there. I don't know, man.
Yeah. I've been saying that too much, but I kind of believe in it. So, because
I think this Rangers team is dangerous. And they showed it here.
It's where the AL, the top teams in the NL are just a little sexier. We just saw the Phillies go to the World Series. The Braves, we were just talking about how they have an argument for one of the best teams ever if they make this happen. The Dodgers, I mean, what Freddie and Mookie, I had to call timeout. last episode just to rave about my jealousy of Dodgers fans that they get to watch Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman every night take 4 at-bats. That's my baseball porn. That's what gets my jollies off. Jolly Olive. The American League is wide open, Trevor. Seattle, I think every team, well, there's one team I don't believe in. I think 5 of the 6 teams in the American League can win the World Series. And how about this?
Okay, can I name them who I think in the American League?
How about this? I think 6 out of 7 teams in the American League can win the World Series.
Okay. What are you trying to get at here? You think the depth in the AL is better than the NL?
I think it's a little more impressive. I mean, sure, I believe in postseason and a magical grind and all of that, but compared to in the National League, it's tough to make a Brewers are gonna win the World Series argument compared to the other teams. Can they? Yeah, any team can. It's a beautiful sport. Cubs, kind of the same. Giants, Snakes, Cincy, Miami. Trev, the Toronto Blue Jays, who are outside looking in right now and have maybe screwed up the whole core of this team if they don't get into the dance this year. Dude, they can hit you with Gossman, Bassett, Barrios, Kikuchi, Ryu. They have the guys in the back end. They have the lineup. And they might not be attending the dance.
I feel you on that. I get you. I would say that if we're talking wild card teams versus wild card teams, I would take the AL as well. Especially you start to include Houston might be a wild card team. Holy Nikes. As far as the series, I mean, yeah, they just went in and handled business. The offense showed up. Jonah Heim has middle in. I mean, there ain't a better cookie that you're like. That's exactly the pitch that Jonah Heim was looking for, and he did exactly what he needed to do. 96, middle in, lefty versus righty. He leaned back. That was pretty. And I'm stoked on Evan Carter. I think he threw Kiermaier out, hits the homer. Robbie Grossman.
Yeah, your guy.
He's a professional.
Yeah.
Mitch Garver. He's put together a very, very nice season, man. And when they needed it, when Jonah Heim goes out, Garver stepped up.
I think the people deserve to hear Mitch Garver's stats in 73 games. Mitch Garver, 280, sure. 383 on base, that's elite. 533 slug, that's elite. 916 OPS for Mitch Garver. That's... You plug that into your lineup, yeah.
I like this Rangers team because I think they have gone for it. Whether it's 2 years ago, 3 years ago in free agency, when they spent more than half a billy bringing over Seager and Semien. They've upgraded the rotation how many times?
Yeah.
How many times they just went out and got the dudes for the rotation? It's been 3 or 4 times they went out and done that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
They really have put an effort in. I want to see this team in. I want to see what they can do. I was wrong about them going into the season. I just didn't think all these things would mesh. They don't care. It did mesh. It's working. Now, Scherzer being hurt, that's a big deal. It's a big deal, man.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like he's going to pitch again this season. That's tough. That's a massive blow to your playoff hopes because when you get into those 7 gamers, man, you got to have the guys, man.
He's Max
you
Scherzer.
Gotta have him.
He's Max Scherzer.
Right now, they're going to be running out in a postseason set. It's Dane Dunning. He's a right-hander, by the way.
Oh.
John Gray. He's a right-hander, by the way. Eovaldi is going to be in there. And then after that, you got Montgomery. And so you got to find your 5th starter, whether that's bringing Andrew Heaney back in, whether that's Martin Perez comes back in, and now he's starting for you again. Like, they're going to have to figure some things out. But I think they have enough there, pitching-wise as well.
Yeah, I mean, even what you just said right there, like, Andrew Heaney has pitched a lot of very good MLB innings. Like, Martin Perez has pitched a lot of very good MLB innings. That if that's what you need to lean, that's your September 15th, we just lost Max Scherzer option. Like, that's not a bad place to be. God, they bang so much. I'm talking about Seager later. Go Texas, go. And the West is as tight as can be. I think we need to kind of close this out with, what do you got on Toronto, Trev? I mean, this is all 4 in Toronto.
It's as bad as it gets, I would say. There's the Boo Birds were out, getting booed by the home crowd. You're losing your grasp on a playoff spot. And again, I don't think it looks good for them. Again, go back to these tiebreakers. They got to go off on a run here. They got to win a bunch of games. They can't just keep treading water. That's not good enough anymore. They got to go out and put together a streak. And they were doing well before that. But this is like when I mean, honestly, like the way to describe it in my mind is like you're a fighter, a boxer, and you're winning a lot of rounds. You feel like you're going to get the decision, and you get hobbled, and you can get and your opponent hits you hard, and now there's a chance that you might get knocked out. Like, you made one misstep and got knocked in the chin, and you ain't the same anymore. Like, they got to snap out of it quickly. Because how many games are left? 16?
Depending the team around there, yeah.
15 games for them. Boy, oh boy. I don't know, man. That's twice. I keep saying that like I'm you. I can't.
Because that's
because I do know. No, I do know.
No, you don't. You don't know shit. In the nicest way possible. The Toronto Blue Jays could look at each other and say, fuck this, and go 13-2 in their next 15. And we'd be like, yes, wow, those Blue Jays dug deep. I always knew they had it in them. Seattle could do the same. Houston can do the same. It's time. It's time.
They face the Red Sox, Yankees coming up next. They're 6-11 against those teams combined. They're 3-7 against Boston, 3-4 against the Yankees. Go take care of business against these bottom dwellers. Sorry, that's what they are. It's a fact.
It's I very much am going to enjoy these races over the NL wildcard. The NL wildcard feels like a war of attrition. Someone's just going to be standing on the end of the finish line with 85 wins and be like, whoo, we made it. The AL between the West, I mean, we haven't even talked Rays and Orioles yet, but the American League wildcard, I mean, we're going to have franchises dictating their future. A Mariners or Blue Jays or Houston or Texas is going to have to, that GM is going to have to walk into the owner's office and say, yes, we did not make the playoffs.
Here's where we're at with the postseason tiebreakers in the American League. Just quickly, I know it's difficult to follow. Again, we'll link the web page in somewhere. I don't know. What do? You link it in the description or something, Beavers?
Yeah.
The Rangers, all they need to do is win 2 of the 7 games remaining against the Mariners, and they will have the tiebreaker on them. They're 5-1 this year against them. Now, the Rangers do not have the tiebreaker against the Astros, which is a big deal. Against the Orioles. They do have it against the Rays. They do have it against the Jays. And they do not have it against the Twins. I don't think that's really going to come into play either. But it's the Jays and the Mariners, basically. Unless the Rangers just lose, all those games against the Mariners. They'll have the extra full game on the Jays and the Mariners, dude. And those are the 2 teams that are right behind them. So add a full game to whatever they're back of because of this new tie-breaking system.
If And Blue Jay fans are probably mad when I say, like, this is, if they don't get in, this is the end. Like, no, like next year, I'm sure Vladdy, Bichette, like a lot of that pitching staff, they'd be back, but like, I don't know. To not get in the dance.
How am I supposed to believe?
Just, if they end up tied for the last wild card spot and not make the playoffs, there's a little bit of that has felt like this Blue Jays team, and I hope I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, look,
I hope I'm wrong.
We've been very excited for this team, right? You have a nice core. You're bringing in free agent pitchers. You're signing guys long term. It's been great for you. 2020 is the first taste you get. You're third in the AL East, but you make it to the wild card. Well, you lose in consecutive games to the Rays in 2020. So nothing to show there. 2021, you win 91 games, but it's not good enough to make the playoffs. Fourth in the AL East, you don't make the playoffs. Ouch. 2022, second in the AL East, you win 92 games, so you improve by 1. You lose to the Mariners in 2 straight games. So you really have nothing, no division titles. You have 2 wild card appearances that you've won no games. That is very disappointing for the amount of talent that they have on this team. Now we're dealing, and you talk about like the Manoah situation and sheesh.
Get your popcorn ready. Crazy series there. Trev, I think of all the other ball that happened in the American League. I'm sure you'll throw in a little Rays Twins powerhouses. I think we have to talk Chaim. The Red Sox move on from Chaim Bloom. I can still remember, give Chaim some time. I think that's around the start of you joining us on Talking Baseball, right? Like I'm not sure of the exact time frame, but I think he was brought in. He had to do the Mookie Betts trade. And yeah, this Trev, I'm gonna half pat myself on the back. Last year during one of our midweek episodes, normally you, me, and Jim would each kind of just pick a topic and kind of, see where baseball. I was just crunching the numbers in my head because the Red Sox last season was lost. And like we just talked about with the Blue Jays, I know my Yankees ended up being dog shit, but they were projected for 98 wins or whatever it is. The Rays are really good. Like they were hurt last year, the start of this new Orioles team. Which, if the Red Sox finish last this year, which, hey, them and the Yankees are racing, it would be 3 of the last 4 years in last place. But the whole, give Chaim some time. And that's the part that surprised me just a little bit, man. Because there was a couple buttons this year that were pretty big wins for Chaim. Whether you want to look at Casas, if you want to count the Duran resurgence, whether Rafaela just got called up, looks talented. Bayo. I think a couple of those might have been inherited by Chaim, but he also kept on to those pieces and didn't trade them and stuff. And then free agency, like Yoshida, we did a whole dance. That dude looks like a stud. Even like the Justin Turner contract as a free agent move looks pretty incredible, but there's the overlying kind of pitching theme. And I guess, was that Chaim? Was that ownership? Because I don't know. They never made that like go for it pitching splash. And I don't know if that was Chaim or ownership. So with all of that, I kind of aired a lot of my grievances there. Were you surprised? Where are you at with it?
I don't know. I guess not. I was surprised when I heard the news because especially it happened, before the season was ending. And I understand there's reasons for that. They want to be able to, jump right into finding someone to, head their baseball ops department. So I understand why they would do it at this time. I just didn't think it was going to. There's been rumblings around the league. Our guy Buster Olney, I'm very fond of, he was talking about it. Carabas has been talking about it. So in that regard, I think around Boston, and if you're following the team closely, you knew there was a chance that he would be gone in the offseason. As far as like overall baseball, am I surprised they made this move? Yeah, I am. because you bring in a guy like Chaim, you understand like there's going to be some growing pains. Like this guy comes from the Rays, and if you want to be the Rays with money, we always say that. Like that's kind of these big markets, big spending teams, the teams that actually go like spend their significant payroll. That's their new thing. Let's be the Rays with money. The Dodgers are. That's what, the Giants really want to be. They just can't get anybody to come to play for them.
Yeah. Yankees think they are.
Yankees want to be that. They're just not that. They should never try to be that. Don't try to be that, Yankees.
Yeah,
just
it's their number one.
Be the Yankees.
Be the Yankees. The Mets are trying to do that. That's what they're bringing in David Stearns. I don't think they gave him enough time. I don't. And I think, yes, the biggest fault that I believe Chaim has had on his rosters has been the starting pitching. And we talk about that all the time. And Red Sox fans are, no, we got these guys. We got these. You don't have them. He's approached this roster like the Rays would approach their rosters. They have some pitchers, but they rely heavily on a bullpen. And they did a good job with the bullpen this year, like bringing guys in and mixing and matching and doing all that. But they never had the starting pitching to do it. But, yes, they've made some good moves. Turner was a great move. Yoshida was a great move. They have some young guys coming up. But he was behind the 8 ball from the jump. I said that on Baseball Today. You come in, you understand you have to trade Mookie Betts. That's not Chaim. He was told he had to do that. Now, would he have done that if they hadn't said anything? I don't know. Probably not.
He would have tried to sign
them. Yeah, right? But he was told, no, that's not going to happen. So, what does the return look like? Connor Wong and Alex Verdugo? Now we get word that Alex Verdugo they were trying to trade him for Clark Schmidt.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. None of
that. So
now
your return is Connor Wong and Clark Schmidt for Mookie Betts. No offense to those players.
Right.
So that hurts right there, right off the bat. But I don't know, man. I think, God,
that's... Gotcha. Yeah, I think pitching, Fenway Park, that's the only thing that you do have to put an asterisk here, and whether that's another trade, whether that was Verdugo for pitching, whether that was whatever it was, the pitching, we're talking about how about this? We're talking about a Blue Jays team that might be missing the dance and their rotation. Gossman, Bassett, I've run the gambit on it for you guys. If you're Boston, I don't know. There's nothing with that rotation that really made you truly feel like you could compete, especially in the current division and with all the talented teams in the American League. I guess the part that is tricky, the Red Sox did a lot of Adam Duvall was a pretty nice signing for them this year. I guess I would love to know, was it laid out for Chaim this year, make the playoffs or bust? Because their offseason didn't feel that way, and I don't know if that was ownership. I don't know if that was Chaim. And yeah, there's just some irony here because they move off of Dombrowski, who they sold off to go for it and make a run at a title. He goes to Philly, and he's putting on a master class right now, even with young talent that I didn't think was part of his game before, that I don't know what you do. Are you going to hire the biggest name? Are you going to hire that wants to rebuild? Are you going to open up the wallet? Because either way, wouldn't you be in the same spot with Chaim? I don't know.
If I say that again, I'm quitting the show.
Okay.
There are some names being floated out there. You think, in a situation like this, that if you fire someone this early on, you kind of have tabs on a couple people that you want. Now, Theo Epstein has been thrown out there. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's got a job with the commissioner's office right now.
Yeah, he's either making a run for Uncle Bob's gig or, I don't know. Some people say the last Infinity Stone would be the Yankees, but I don't know.
Something. I don't think it's a job for him to come back. They'd have to throw a bag at him.
They'd have to give him a 10-year deal or some shit.
No, they'd have to give him $10 million a year. I don't know what GMs make, but they got to
Yeah.
The other would be.
Did you say I don't know? Did you say I don't know what GMs make?
Yes, but that's not me saying it just blankly. that term. You can still use it in the right context, not just all the time. I listened to our guy Carabas talk about this. He had a State of the Union. He's got his finger on the pulse of Red Sox Nation, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
He's got his fingers on a lot of things. Barbells, heavy weights.
Yeah. With
those pipes that he's got. He mentioned Alex Cora maybe stepping into that role.
Man, I heard some Red Sox fans whisper, what is that?
I don't...
Like, that's not a natural transition.
It could be. Chris Young wasn't a manager. Former player. He's also an Ivy Leaguer. No offense to Alex Cora. Brian Cashman, highest paid GM at $5 million a year. Thanks, PBD. So I'm guessing, it'd have to be somewhere like 8 to 10 for Theo. And who knows what he's making right now? He might be even making that. The people in the commissioner's office make a lot of money.
They do all right.
I don't know if you know that.
I don't know if their salaries.
That's why I'm sending my resume over there, actually.
Yeah.
Bye, Manfred. If you want to be cool, really cool again. I know you got it going on with the Players Alliance and they got you the jacket and stuff, but if I embrace
other avenues too
with full open arms, I think it would be great for your image. I'm just saying. And I will. I have a price.
Very interested to see who they bring in. Because, I mean, it just feels like you can't be going with another Chaim analytical, I want to rebuild the system type, because then you're basically saying it's going to be another 3 years in Boston, which...
It feels like the system is rebuilt.
That doesn't feel like the energy that you did when you let go of Chaim. So I don't know.
There was a beat writer, somebody. I don't think it was Bob Nightingale, but for some reason...
But shout out.
But shout out, Bobby.
Always.
My guy. There's the last 3 general managers or whatever they call their person there.
Sure.
He had a crazy
whoever
name
the guy
too.
in charge is.
He had a crazy name. Can you go? What was his title, Beavers? Because it wasn't GM and it wasn't president of baseball operations. It wasn't that. Anyways,
title. Chief baseball officer.
That's a new one.
Okay. CBOs of the Red Sox all were like just shy of 4 years at the job. Like right around the same amount of time. They give them about 4 years, and that's all you get. Whereas Theo Epstein was there for a long time. So, I mean, maybe they should have given Chaim some more time. But maybe not. And you know what? I'll end it with this. Who cares? There's so much baseball this year to be played that I could care less about this. I couldn't care less. People always say I could care less. Right. I couldn't care less. That makes more sense.
He couldn't, people. Beebs, I'll run through the Interleague, but I think that's just going to take us right to standout performances.
Is Houston in trouble?
This series is for the birds. Cardinals, Orioles. This is another one, Trev. Cardinals took 2 out of 3. Orioles won the first game 11-5. Cedric Mullins, human highlight reel. Gunnar Henderson. But like I told you, Richie Palacios. Homers in each of these games. They get a good start from DrewRom.com. Happy for you, St. Louis. Why not us? Giants, they take 2 out of 3 from the Guard Dogs. The 2 games they win, extra innings. The guy at the plate when they won, late night Lamont Wade. Sack fly and a hit to get it done. Guard Dogs win that middle game behind a nice Cal Quantrill start. And then your last series, Reds, Tigers. Reds, they win 2 out of 3. It feels like we haven't been talking as much Reds lately. They win the first 2 games and then they dropped the last one. Reese Olson took another no into the 6th. Good for you, fella. For the Reds, we've got Bader has a 2-hit day. TJ Friedel, sure. Hey, that's what happened in the Interleague. And the whole Interleague and first half of the show was brought to you by the Farmer's Dog. We love dogs. We're a dog pod. Full blown. Me and Noodle got into it last night. Just kind of honest talks. Just like, are you happy? Am I happy? Everyone's good. But he wants his farmer's dog, Pop. He doesn't want any of that dry stuff anymore. He wants the goods. Because Farmer's Dog, it's developed by vets, nutritionally balanced, made from real healthy ingredients to human food safety standards. Why wouldn't you want to take the best care of your dog, whether they're young or old? It's always the right time to invest in their health. And you'll get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/JohnBoy. Plus, you will get free shipping. That's thefarmersdog.com/JohnBoy, 50% off. There's a link in the description with Trev's standings updates. Take care of your pooch. That Oochie Poochie.
How is Noodle doing?
Noodle's good, man. Noodle's good. He's big. He's adapting to the veteran role. Like he's seen a lot of games nowadays. Noodle's 6.5 now. Like, yeah, he's a dog. I took a good kind of creepy picture of him. I'll send it to BBD. Maybe we'll get it on the screen while you talk about your standout performer.
Oh, standout performance. Oh my goodness. I was gonna say Noodle needs to FaceTime my kids. They like that.
Yeah.
My standout performance goes to a guy that's on a team that we don't necessarily talk about a lot anymore because a lot of things have gone wrong. The biggest thing going with this team is they did hire a new head of baseball, whatever. You can just make up names nowadays in the hiring process of these teams. I'm talking about the New York Mets, and I'm talking about Kodai Senga. Now, in this particular game on Thursday, he went 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs with 10 Ks. I love Senga, and I was doing some research on him. I wanted to see, like, no pun intended, the splits on him. He is a reverse splits guy, better against lefties than he is against righties.
Was that pun intended?
A little bit. It was a little bit. On the season, I mean, and think about this, man. Fresh to the United States and signs a 5-year, $75 million deal. That's about 15 for a starter. Go look at the starters making 15 mil. You're going to find a lot of 4 guys. A lot of 3s and 4s out there. Kodai Senga ain't that. So a great move by the Mets to bring this guy in. And they have a team option for 2028 as well. My goodness.
2.95 ERA on the season.
27 games started, so he's made all of his starts. He's going to get to 30, I believe. They'll get to 30. That's great. He's going to get to 200 strikeouts. He's got 191 right now. He's got a 295 on the year. I mean, this guy's done everything. A 4.2 baseball reference WAR. The thing I like about him is he's seemingly getting better. In April and March was his worst month, where teams had a 754 OPS against him. Hey, man, it's cold. New league, new everything. You're living in New York all of a sudden?
Yeah.
That's going to be crazy. Then he settled in. 556, 670, 500, 612, 553. And this is OPS against, man. He's been a stalwart in the rotation, one of the better signings of the offseason. Your team would love to have this guy making $15 million a year. Would love to have him making $15 million a year. So I wanted to shout him out because, again, we're not talking about the Mets and their performance on the field anymore because, they have given things up. Most times we're talking about them. It is the front office and Uncle Steve and David Stearns now, and they traded everybody and recouping losses. But Senga deserves a shout out on his own, so he's my standout.
It's a good one. I was talking to Jolly about Senga a little bit. He has definitely been one of the brightest spots of that Mets season. That's an incredible year. I mean, that's an incredible year. Interested to see what he does for an encore next year for those new Mets. Great standout, Trev. There's a lot of good pitching options. Woodruff goes complete game. I decided to bring it. I mean, Snell and Strider trying to get some final Cy Young votes. There's a picture of Noodle. He's just at kind of the end of our hallway, and he looks kind of creepy. It's kind of like, I take his collar off after I walk him, and then I let him kind of sprint down the hallway, and he goes to the end of the hall. He sat down and kind of gave me a weird stare. So that's Noodle for those watching on the YouTube.
You hitters, like, open the door so I can eat my farmer's dog?
Yeah, let me in, little guy. Hate when Noodle shit talks me, but Trev, this one, you mocked me a little bit because it feels like this guy could be picked any week, but reminder, that's part of the gig. I'm going with Corey Seager in a must-win series. Pick your poison Tuesday.
What happened? What did they do on top both times?
Yeah. Tuesday and Thursday, Corey Seager had 3 hits. Tuesday, 2 doubles, 2 runs. Thursday, a homer, 3 RBI, 2 runs. Trevor, we've come across Corey a lot, and we do it on all JM, and it's like, wow, he's having such a good year. He missed some time. He's played 103 games this year. He has a lot of bold on his page. Batting average, slugging, OPS, sure. And you're saying, okay, well, yeah, he hasn't played as many games, so, it's a little Mickey Mousey, right? He also leads the AL in doubles. That's just who has hit the most doubles, and in 103 games, he has. He has 31 home runs, 92 RBI. His counting stats for a season are going to land in a phenomenal place. And we should be more, instead of doing Corey Seager, he hasn't played that much. We should feel bad for ourselves that we missed out on another 45 games of Corey Seager this year, because it's historic, the pace he's on. And this guy, here's a guy. This guy's underrated. I know this is a Jake conundrum that I run into too much. He has 32 career WAR. He's having a 7 WAR season in his age 29 season. He has a World Series MVP. He has a Rookie of the Year. He is a 4-time All-Star. This guy, depending how his 30s go, and this is another reason I picked him because I caused a little hubbub on the internet. If this guy puts together another 4 or 5, we're talking Hall of Famer Corey Seager. And his contract runs for what, the next 9? So if you can talk me into a thick boy Corey Seager, maybe playing the hot corner, just turning on ding-dongs, this guy's one of the best pure hitters in the game. He's a massive human, as you've pointed out, Trev. And he might sneaky give Freddie Freeman one of the best arguments for best hitter in the game.
Wow, okay. Look, this year, a lot of the nerds like rate stats, how many plate appearances per homer, how many, games per homer, whatever it is. I mean, his rate stats are even better than his counting stats. So I get what you're saying there. This guy has had an incredible year, leads the league in a bunch of awesome categories. Hall of Famer, in my book, if he puts together another, 4 or 5 years, yeah.
Needs
but that's
to do
not
more.
I don't decide the Hall of Fame. The way that the Hall of Fame's decided right now, he's not a Hall of Famer. He'd have to go crazy. He doesn't have to do it. I mean, we're talking 168 homers, so you got to get to 500. I don't know if that's going to happen for him. He'd have to go crazy. 2,000 more hits. It's a lot of hits, Poppy. That ain't going to happen. 3,000 hits is out of the question. I mean, that's 10 straight years of 200. It ain't going to happen.
But there's an argument he's in his prime.
10 straight years of 200. He's not getting 3,000 hits. You got to go, so another 332 homers. So you're averaging 33 for 10 years. That ain't going to happen.
I mean, let's measure him against shortstops, because that's what he's played up until this point of his career. And let's
you got to play shortstop for a lot longer.
We live in a war. We live in a war world, kind of heavy. That, yeah, I mean, he essentially has to run back a chunk of his current career, but in the past 4 seasons, he has been better than he was ages 21 through 25. So I don't know. I know Father Time catches up with everyone, but could Corey Seager be a great hitter till he's 34 and then compile a little bit? There's a chance. I don't know. There's obviously a chance, no, but this guy is all world right now.
No, he's a stud. And this is why you can't count the Rangers out of anything, because they have guys in their lineup that can absolutely carry a team. He's one of them. There's probably like 4 guys in that lineup where I would say they can carry a team offensively through a series. He's one of them. Obviously, he's the main one. And I like him. From all accounts, great guy. You know, I like the baseball lineage in the family. I think that's awesome.
Shout out to Kyle.
Yeah, what's Kyle doing?
Big bro toughened him up a little bit.
Bald ass mofo. What are you doing, Kyle? That used to be my boy. We used to say hi to each other all the time. Baseman crew.
Third baseman respect gang.
I used to take my hat off and just flick my hair around a little bit for him. I never did that. I'm just kidding. But I like Kyle a lot too.
And then he would drop his wallet in front of you.
Yeah, he's like, I signed for 7 years, $100 million, bro. Right in front of your face.
He hit 100 mil.
He's like, you can't even get a 2-year deal. You're a loser.
I think we looked into this one day. I think Kyle Seager's on a farm in North Carolina or something like that. Probably.
What's he do? He's got to be. He's just watching football.
Just hitting apples in the backyard or something.
You think he's fat? You think he got a little overweight?
Ooh, interesting. Has Kyle Seager done the Trevor Plouffe slim down, or is he gone thick on us? A chance he went thick, right?
There's a chance.
But I don't know, baby bro's still active. You don't want one of those pics to leak out in a few years that it's like, oh, that's Corey and that's Kyle.
Beebs, hit the music.
Dirt nasties on Fuego. That means I'm on fire, baby. Like Waco.
Yikes. I'm not allowed to do that for a while as I had a dental procedure. As you can see, we have not found a Dirt Nasty cameo page yet.
Don't believe he's on the platform.
Unbelievable. We need to, guys, can you just reach out to Dirt Nasty on social and say he needs to make a cameo, or at least just send us a video? Do you think he'd be proud that he's on this show, or would he be like, what the fuck?
Oh, I think he'd love it. I think Dirt Nasty is a sneaky sports guy, and that he'd appreciate the #1 baseball show in the world. Talks about the hottest players in the game by referencing his song.
Oh, my goodness. For the series, we talked about this guy a little bit. My guy, Robbie Grossman. There's actually no rolling of the R because he's American. 7 for 12 in the series, 583 average, 2 homers, 6 ribbies for the 1.7, 5 walks because he's Robbie Grossman. That's what he does. Richie Palacios, talked about him, 3 for 8. All 3 of those hits were homers, all solo homers for the 1.8. Rafael Devers. Hey, Chaim signed him to a long-term deal. He knew he was done. He says, I'll put some money on the next guy's books. Screw you. He should have signed everybody. That's if I was a GM and I was out there, you get a contract. You get a contract. 5 for 10 he went, 2 homers, both solo, 3 walks for the 1.7 over the series. He has 25 homers versus the Yankees in his career. That's the most versus any team he has faced. He is a Yankee. He loves Garrett Cole too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure does.
Okay. For the week of September 7th through September 14th, Yandy, Tampa Bay first baseman, went 11 for 25 with 3 doubles, 2 homers, 6 ribbies, 6 runs, 3 walks. He leads the AL with 17 games of at least 3 hits this season. That's amazing. Big old dude like that. Gotta love it. How about my guy, Washington shortstop, C.J. Abrams? I told you guys, watch out for this kid. He's special. He's going to be special for a while. 7 for 22, 3 homers, a triple, 5 RBI, 7 runs, 5 walks. He has 11 homers since batting in the leadoff spot in 56 games. He had 7 homers batting between the 6 and 9 spots through the first 80 games early in the season. He wants to bang right away.
In there.
Let him. New York Yankees relief pitcher Tommy Canley, 4 games, 1 save, 5 innings pitched, 6 days. Don't care.
Hey.
Don't care. Although I do like Tommy Canley. He's funny. For the 2 weeks, and I'm going to say it, this is the list you want to be on, people. From September 1st through the 14th, Reese Olson, Detroit starting pitcher, goes 3 games started, 19 2/3 innings pitched, 8 hits, 3 earned runs, 13 Ks. That's a 1.3 ERA with a .66 whip. He carried a no-hitter into the 7th inning in his previous start and carried a no-hitter into the 6th innings of this start, his last start. So you were right about that. A lot of no chances for old Reese Olson. Detroit, stand up, get better. We like some of your young talent on that team. How about, speaking of teams need to stand up a little bit, Oakland. JP Sears, 3 games started, 17 innings pitched, 13 hits, 3 earned runs, 9 Ks for the 1.59 ERA. He entered September allowing homers at the 3rd highest rate in the major leagues at 1.9 homers per 9. So far this month, no homers. So he's correcting. You got to like that. And last but not least, and this one might be the most important, Tampa Bay relief pitcher Pete Fairbanks.
My guy.
On a heater. 8 games, 6 saves, 7 2/3 innings pitched, 17 Ks, people. 7 2/3 innings pitched, 17 Ks. That's more than 2 per. Gotta love that. He's recorded a strikeout in 24 and 26 games since the All-Star break and has the best K per 9 out of all pitchers in the major leagues since the All-Star break at 16.5 Ks per 9. The Rays don't give a shit. They don't give it. This guy is nasty. Have you seen when he's just throwing 100-mile-an-hour balls up there? They're moving. They're not moving. It's all funk.
I see us. We're probably talking a lot of Rays Monday with the big Rays-Orioles series. Trevor, fantastic job, by the way. I reference this a lot. Fangraphs, roster resource page. It gives you some team general numbers. It gives you some player general numbers. It gives like an overall power ranking and a last 7 days power ranking. For pitchers, it gives the last 14 days. It has 3 of the top 5 relief pitchers over the past 2 weeks. Fangraphs considers on the Rays. Fairbanks, Poche, and Stevenson, who I think recorded his first save for them. It has 6 relievers in the top 30. That adds Diekman, Armstrong, and Kelly. The Rays are raising right now, and on Monday we could be talking about the first place Rays again.
Speaking of tiebreakers, the Orioles have to win 1 game to keep the tiebreaker. 1 game out of the next 3.
Trev, I don't want to make the rest of this episode not safe for work, but Eflin versus Flaherty tonight.
They're trying to do a standing ovation for Jack also. Like, this is a thing. They tried to do it for Correa in the Minnesota. Well, it just wasn't it. Like, it was like a few people. I think that's probably going to be the same thing. But if you're listening to this, you're an Orioles fan, you're going to the game, get people standing up for my boy Jay Flair. I gave him a big pep talk not too long ago.
And you know what, Jay Flair? You give them a reason to stand up in the 6th inning or so. You know?
I like that.
Let's go.
I like that.
And then a little Glass Now Gray Rod on Saturday. Whoo! Trev, there's always injuries, and we're starting to get to the point of the season that if you are injured, that could be it. We mentioned Scherzer, Jason Dominguez for my Yanks. Adbert Alzolay for the Cubs. I'm going to circle that. He has been a major part of the Cubs' come-up this season. Brandon Belt for Toronto. Hate that. Jose Siri for Tampa. My guy, I think he got hit in the hand. Jamer Candelario for the Cubs. Circled that. Nolan Gorman. I just shouted out how good his year-long stats were. And Kenley Jansen for Boston. Returning for the IL. Swanson for Toronto. How about Jared Kelenic? Remember that whole deal. Chris Bryant for the Rocks. Kyle Wright for Atlanta. John, what do you means for Baltimore? Patrick Bailey. Joe Kelly. He will be pitching in a big playoff game. Matty Chapman, your guy. And Coach Ballgame's guy, Manny Margot. Which leads us to the beginning of the weekend.
Awards!
And those are brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook. Football is back in full swing. Another week of epic games. Trev's Vikes fought last night, but it wasn't enough for the Beagles. That's right. You're an LA guy now. But DraftKings is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and you can bet $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Get in on NFL Week 2 action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now. Use code TALKIN to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and take home $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code TALKIN. The crown is yours, and Trev, awards are yours.
Shout out, Kels. See you in a couple weeks in Colorado, I think. I haven't even asked her if she's going to be working the games. Hate Colorado for sending down Cole Tucker.
Yeah.
Can't stand it. That was going to be a great weekend for me. And now it's just going to be an okay weekend. For my award, I don't really have a good name for this. So it's going to be called the Don't Be So Blue Award. I am wearing all blue today. But this is in reference to a baseball savant. And, you know, one of the things they do well is they, just like SeatGeek does, they color code if it's good or bad. And for baseball savant, the redder your bubbles are, the better. The bluer they are, the worse. I have some interesting numbers here. Do not want to be blue on this thing. If I was to say to you, you got a guy who is 8th in average exit velo.
Okay.
8th percentile.
Oh.
Blue. Average exit velo, 8. Barrel percentage, 13th percentile, very blue. Hard hit percentage, the bluest at 4. Is that a guy you want on your team?
You know, I think a lot of front offices would say I don't think that player's going to fit in our program.
Well, that's Ha-Seong Kim.
Woo!
And if you tab down on Fangraphs and you give the best offensive players in the league, he's rated 30th. 30th in the league. There's only 30 teams, right? So, you know, he's blue. Average exit velo, barrel, hard hit, very blue. Don't want him on your team, except you definitely want him on your team. Now I know he brings value with his legs and with his defense. I'm talking strictly offensive value here on Fangraphs page. He's 30th overall. His overall batting prowess on on Baseball Savant has him 64th percentile. So, you know, it's like warmish red. Nevertheless, a good baseball player whose Baseball Savant page doesn't show it offensively, but he is good. Let's move up the ladder a little bit. Average exit velo for this player, 40th percentile. So still below average. 16th percentile barrel percentage and 23rd percentile hard hit percentage. Those are all blue. Who do you think that is? I mean, you have no idea.
TJ Friedel.
It's J.P. Crawford. Now, if you toggle down offensive WAR in Fangraphs, is the 17th best player. Think you'd want that, right?
I would want him, yeah.
And his overall batting run value on Savant is at 87th percentile. That's really red. So some of these things, you're getting into the weeds here. How hard you hit the ball, how often you're barreling. Usually that means you're going to be at the top. Sometimes it doesn't, people, is all I'm trying to say. The last guy I'll mention on the all-blue team, Baseball Savant. It's kind of what I was going with here. The all-blue team for Baseball Savant. 14th in average exit velo, 14th percentile. 27th in barrel percentile. Hard hit percentage, very blue, at 7th percentile. Doesn't sound like a guy that's going to be top of the leaderboard of Fangraphs offensive WAR page.
No.
That player is
Barry Bonds.
Isaac Paredes. Your
Thick.
guy.
Thick.
His batting run value on Savant is actually in the 90th percentile. Hey, he's slugging his way onto it. I think he's got 30 homers. The other two guys don't chase a lot. So their on-base percentage has jumped a bunch this year. There's just different ways to get it done. But if you're strictly to look at those numbers and see how blue they were, you'd be like, these guys can't hit the ball. I don't want these guys on my team. But then here we are. Isaac Paredes, 14th overall in Fangraphs offensive WAR. J.P. Crawford, 17th. Ha-Seong Kim, 30th. This is my all baseball savant blue team. I almost put Nico Horner on here,
Mm.
but I didn't for a couple different reasons. But I don't really know why I did this, but I had this.
Okay.
I'll tell you guys actually what happened.
Okay.
Got into bed last night. I took a gummy.
Yeah.
And in my mind started racing. I'm like, okay, I need an award for tomorrow. And then I just started thinking about, what about some of these guys who we are having better seasons than we're giving them credit for offensively? And then I was like, oh, if I go to Baseball Savant, there might be some blue. I can make that into it. And that's how I came up with this. But I think it is fascinating to go there and to look at these percentiles. And you can just say, I don't want that guy on my team. And then you look up and he's doing something well that's bolstering him in, these offensive WAR stats. And all these guys, I mean, if you just put up regular old WAR, they're there too. They're getting it done different ways. It's sometimes the numbers don't tell the whole story. So don't be so blue.
Well done, Trev. I mentioned TJ Friedel. He has one of those pages too. And it's funny you mentioned Nico Horner. He almost ended up being my award because he just got his 40th stolen base, which is the first Cub since Juan Pierre.
Oh, I love me some Juan
And we
Pierre.
Go to Wrigley
the hat
Field.
under the freaking helmet, all-time look.
I got that.
All-time look.
I got that wiggly feel. Trev, it's funny you say you were thinking about it. I was in an area where I wanted to give some younger guys love with kind of like a bona fide, like stamp the season, like it's over. You had a massive year. I ended up wandering away from that, and I ended up wandering closer to something that you put under my nose, Trev. I'm going to give out the NBA Draft.net award. NBA Draft.net is one of my favorite websites on the internet. I don't know who owns it. I don't set a lot of goals, but if this company keeps going, I may want to buy it. It was the original NBA Draft website, and some parts of it are beautiful. It's awesome. It's everything you're looking for if you're a nerd leading up to a draft and a mock draft and all that. What always cracked me and my buddies up about this website is sometimes they would show the third projected pick in the draft, and they would give an NBA player comp. And they'd be like, okay, NBA player comp is Ricky Davis. And you'd be like, okay, sure, cool. Why not? And then the fifth player projected to go in the draft would be compared to Larry Bird. And you'd be like, okay, well, I don't know, guys. If these are the comps, you might want to take Larry over Ricky Davis. So we've a lot of laughs about that throughout the years. Trev, you opened up my eyes to something earlier this season because I'm a sucker for a good player comp. I'm going to read you some stats. These are two players from the second half of the season. Player 1, 16 home runs, 68 hits, a 308 batting average, a 358 on base, a 969 OPS. That's a really good second half, right?
Yes.
Player B, 14 homers, also 68 hits, also a 308 batting average, a 925 OPS. It's a pretty good second half.
Yes.
Player 1, Trey Turner. Player 2, Bobby Witt Jr. You opened up my eyes. Bobby Witt, I didn't see it. I thought he was kind of his own breed of animal, and I wanted to see what he became. I think we know what he's kind of en route to becoming, man. Their numbers are eerily similar in the second half across the board, both very elite. Bobby Witt Jr. just has him beat in stolen bases. Trey's got him beat in a little bit of pop. Their numbers are eerily similar, and I think it happened. Remember that Trey Turner, we saw the standing ovation, right? And now we're trying to mimic that in Baltimore. Bobby Witt Jr., it was that video of the little kid who missed his walk-off homer.
Walk-off grand slam, yeah.
The light bulb went off, and he went nuts this weekend. And Trey Turner's been going absolutely nuts. That we do a show that is talking baseball, and man, it is hard to talk about baseball without mentioning these two guys. And you'll always get the credit from me on that, Trev, because I didn't see it, and now it's all I can see.
I love me some Bobby Witt Jr. The tools always just jumped off the page. When you watch him play, it's there. The swing looks good. Everything looks good. He still needs to figure some things out. as a young hitter. The 317 OBP will get better with time as his plate discipline, gets better. And you start swinging at more strikes, stop swinging at less balls, understanding, when you take chances, when you shorten up, all those things. His legs are going to be a calling card for him, hopefully for the foreseeable future. 44 swipes this year. He's got Trey Turner beat. He's top 10 Fangraphs WAR right now. Number 10 player. Yummy. Okay, so the comp for me was always, and I remember saying this on our show, Julio Rodriguez or Bobby Witt Jr. And when they first came up, I said, I think I'd rather have Bobby Witt Jr. And then Julio's gone on to be one of the better players in all of baseball. He's 6th in WAR right now. I don't think you can go wrong with either of those guys. But yeah, he's an incredible player. And now I want to see. I'm going to the game logs. Beavers, can you find that when that he hit the grand slam, the walk-off grand slam?
Bobby Witt Jr. Bobby Witt Jr., by the way, 2 homers away from 30-30. Yo. 44 stolen bases, 811 OPS. It's hey, Kansas City, let's start figuring it out soon so we could talk more Bobby Witt Jr.
Since June 14th, and that was as low as he's got on his OPS, that kind of where it started to go up. He has a 908 OPS, 17 homers in 77 games, 58 runs batted in, 23 bags, 310, 352, 556.
I believe including the walk-off grand slam, Bobby Witt Jr. has been 1 dotting in his last 41 games.
I believe that is the day of the walk-off grand slam.
What is it?
339, 382, a 632 slug, a 1.013 OPS. That's also with 16 stolen bases, and I believe he's off the chart on the defensive metrics. So this guy, Vinny Pasquantino, get back. Give Royals.
Cole Reagans.
Vamo.
People love him.
I love him too. I love you.
Guys, we eventually got to do Stimulate. I think I'm ready for it.
Oh, good.
Stimulator sheet if you need to search for it.
Golly, Miss Molly.
I have it right now. You want me to do it?
Set him up. Tee up my guy.
Wow, if the postseason was to start today in the American League, it would be Mariners versus the Twins in the first wild card. Who you got?
Mariners.
No, you don't.
Whammy.
No, you don't. In the other side, it'd be Texas versus Tampa Bay. Who you got?
Tampa.
That brings us to the DS in the American League. We have Seattle versus Houston, a rematch of last year. Who you got?
Daddy Houston.
Houston gets back to the ALCS. Now Tampa Bay versus those birds, those orange ones in the ALDS. Who you got?
Go Birds.
Orange versus orange in the ALCS. It's the Houston Astros versus the Baltimore Orioles. Who's going to the ship in the American League?
It's the Houston Astros.
The Houston Astros are back.
Wow.
In the World Series.
Hard to imagine.
National League. Starting off the wild card to be the Giants versus the Brew Crew in Milwaukee. Who you got?
Ooh. Giants.
Woo! Defeat the Brew Crew. I don't hate
last week.
Sorry, Josh.
Momentum is real.
The other wild card game, Cubs in Philadelphia. Who you got?
Oh, it's the Phillies.
Phillies, moving on. So we have some rivalries in the DS. Holy shnikey. We got Giants, Dodgers in the NLDS. Who you got?
Dodgers.
Dodgers move on to the NLCS. We have Phillies versus the Braves in the NLDS. Who you got?
Phillies.
Phillies move on.
Oh.
They play the Dodgers in the NLCS. Phillies, Dodgers, what a series that would be. Who do you got?
Dodgers.
The Dodgers move on to the ship, and we have Houston versus LA. LA with the home field advantage. Beavers, who's winning the 2023 Hunk of Metal Award, also known as
running
the World
the
Series trophy.
simulator right now. It looks like congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers.
No!
I mean, Freddie and Mookie, one of the best 1-2 punches ever. What a year for the Dodgers. What a year for talking baseball. Everyone, enjoy your weekend. We'll be back here on Monday, that much closer to playoff baseball.
Jig sucks.
About 2 weeks from Monday? 2 weeks from Tuesday?
What?
Huh? Are you on the Twins pregame playoff call?
I don't know what's going to happen with all that. I don't think we have pre and post in the playoffs.
Okay.